Hello and welcome. In today's video, we are continuing the conversation we had in the previous video about applying payments to invoices. If you haven't watched that video, I would recommend to start from that one. So especially if you are not familiar with the topic, because that will give you the background to understand what we're tackling in this video. But let's get right into the difficult question. The question that I asked last time was like, well, what happens if we have not applied received payment to an invoice? So now all of a sudden we have invoices that are showing up as not paid, but in reality they have been paid.
Cool.
And more important, is there a way to find out like if we have that problem? Because maybe we don't even know if we have that problem.
No, I think that's a great question, because you could kind of ask the question, how important is this? And again, it depends a little bit on how you run your business, how you run your accounting and your books. But I can try and show you one scenario that kind of maybe will show the potential problem here.
Perfect.
I have a customer card in the Kronos database. Let's try and look at the balance due. And kind of let's first identify the issue here, the one that we created last time. So if you see up here, let me just scroll a little bit to the right here. Maybe I can't see it, but you can see there's two payments up here in the top, and then we have some open invoices down here. They're red because they're overdue. So first two lines, that's payments that we have posted. And if I scroll to the right here, you can see the remaining amount is still the same as the amount that was posted. That means it was not applied to anything. And you can see this one is pretty easy to see because you can see the amount 1,223 is actually the same as the invoice down here.
Yeah.
But let us show you one example of what it could show as an issue. Let's go back to the customer card, go to the report, go to the statement. Let's try and print one. So this, we're going to take 4 months. Here, we're going to select the option open item. Let's try and run that. So I'm going to click OK. It's going to create the report. It's going to create a PDF version of this one. I could email, I could do all kinds of things with this, but I just want to show you what that example would look like if I were to send that to the customer. So this is a standard statement in Business Central. It could look different out at your end because you have a modification to it. When I scroll down a bit here, you see the first section. That's going to be my statement with all my invoices or the interest that goes into it. And you can also see here, there's actually two entries down here with a negative amount. It's not an invoice amount. It could be a credit memo, maybe.
It could be, yeah.
But if you go down here and look at the overdue entries, that part of the statement is kind of the idea is that you want to get the attention from the customer. Say, okay, we have some overdue entries here. Please pay those entries at least.
Yes.
And if you go down, you can see the first two entries. That's negative. That's payments. And the customer might say, why is that on there? I already paid that.
Yeah,
I get confused about that. And if they look further down here, maybe they saw this one first. Oops. They looked at the open invoice down here, or they looked at this one and say, no, I've paid that.
Yeah.
Yes, you have actually, because it's up here, but it's confusing.
Exactly. Yeah, I can see that.
So that's one of the reasons that we want to apply our payment, so we know exactly that payment goes together with that invoice. So there's no doubt.
And that's, I think, a scenario that you might want to check on your system, because you don't know, like maybe you, and depending on if you're using statements or not, but regardless, I think it's a good practice to have your books all straightened out. Like, so it makes it also easier if you ever have to reconcile anything.
Exactly. So let's close that preview of our statement. And let's go back to our balance due. And we can see those entries that are open here. So now, an afterthought, you could say that, okay, so how do I take care of that? How do I actually apply those entries after it's been posted? Because I don't want to undo the posting and redo the posting. I just want to apply it.
Yeah. So we have the money, everything is correct. They just don't match.
Exactly. So up here, you can see there's an option called Apply Entries.
Oh, nice.
And if I click on that, it's going to open a new page.
Okay.
And it's going to highlight so I highlighted the payment out there I was on, 1,223.33. I don't know if that's an odd amount or not, but there's a lot of
It's-
2s and 3s.
It sounds
One,
weird,
two,
right?
3, yeah. So that's the document I was actually highlighting before I pushed the button.
Perfect.
So I could say that amount, I want to apply that to that invoice. You can see the third line down here is actually the remaining amount. That's 123.33. So I click on apply ID like that. And then I post the application.
Uh-huh.
So now it's asking me to put in a document number. I'm going to stick with the document number I had already. The external document number is usually the document number that the customer used.
That makes sense.
So if the check number or whatever it was, it might already be on there, but I can do that. I'm going to use the same date. You can change the date, obviously.
That
I'm
makes
going to
sense.
do that. Click OK. And successfully posted.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you noticed, but in the background, the page we opened was only the overdue.
That's right.
So maybe you noticed that entry disappeared.
It did. And it looks like
So now there's only one left. So I could obviously do the exact same again for that entry and apply it
to the correct invoice.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, let me ask you one question, because in the previous video, we mentioned that sometimes a customer could be paying more than one invoice at the time in one payment.
Yeah.
If that has happened and we haven't registered it correctly, can we still take care of that situation? If we have this one payment, but it applies to multiple invoices?
Yeah, that's a good scenario as well, because that often is the case.
Mm-hmm.
You receive one check, multiple invoices to cover. So just imagine that this last payment that is open in here for 11,000 and something, I want to apply that to multiple different invoices. I would still click on the apply entries.
Okay.
So when it opens the page, again, we're going to see up in the top part of it, it's going to confirm what is the amount. That is the payment. So my starting point is a payment. Perfect. You could have started the other way around. I'm not going to show that now. So it's important that you're actually on the correct line.
Okay.
In this scenario, we want to be on the payment because that is the one we want to handle and apply it to something.
That makes sense.
The something that I mentioned is what is down here on the lines.
Okay.
So imagine that this would cover this one. I said applies ID, but it would also cover this one. So I would set applies ID to that as well.
Uh-huh.
Now, obviously, our example is not really good because you see the applied amount, 27,000.
Yeah.
But the balance doesn't match. But again, that's our example.
That makes sense.
Just take the correct amount and you would be good. You would do the exact same afterwards.
Post it.
To post it.
That makes sense. Well, let's introduce a more tricky scenario. Let's see if we can get out of that. Let's say that we've done this, we apply the entries, but we go back and look at the statement and we say, oh, we made a mistake. Like it was the wrong invoice that I applied to. Are we, is it done? Like, is it, can it, what can we do in that scenario?
Oh, no, you're done.
Wow.
No, you're not done.
Luckily.
Let's have a look, because let's have a look at the ledger entries. I started out with the balance due. The balance due would only show you the open interest. I want to have the full history. Okay. Because in our scenario, we already applied it, so it's not going to show up in our open balance. So in here, we're going to see the full history, and you're going to see the two top lines. Those were actually, one of them is still open. If I go to the right here, you see remaining amount is 0. Yeah. And we still have this one open. Maybe the first one was incorrect. The one I just applied now. Yeah. I have the cursor on it here. Yeah. So I could go up here and I could say I want to unapply the entries. Again, it's going to open a new page. And it's going to take those two. So it actually knows those two goes together. Okay. Yeah. That was the invoice I applied just before. Yeah. So I would take those two entries and I'm going to click unapply. So it's going to post an on application. Okay. So it's almost that's the right word. I'm not sure. It almost reverts the action that we did. So it allows us to go back and then apply it to the correct one. Exactly. So if I hit OK on this one, it's posting it, unapplying it. And the entries were successfully unapplied. Okay. Great. So if I go back to that, we're actually still in the the ledger entries, so we have the full list of all our entries. Go to the right again. Oops, it was way too far. Can you see my remaining amount is open now?
Perfect. Well, that's great. Like, I think that's a scenario that might happen, might have happened to you, and it might be interesting for you to know how to fix that. So, okay, thank you much. Thank you so much for showing us, Caitlin. That's very, very helpful. I think that this covers pretty much our little mini series trying to answer the question that we had in the comments some time ago from one of you guys asking about to show how to apply payments to invoices. So, but if you have any other question, if you've seen something we've discussed in this video or other videos that you'd like us to cover in more detail, let us know down below. We're always happy to get back to that.
So maybe I already have.
Do you already have a question? Okay.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, on your behalf, maybe I'm going to ask the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And maybe we can take that in another session.
Let's see.
Up in the top here, in the customer ledger entries, you can see there's something called reverse transaction. Create reminders, create finance charge memos.
Ooh, that's right.
I don't know how often you use that out there, but again, if you do, if you kind of would like to know something more about that, could we create a video about that maybe?
I think we could do that. And I know we've talked about these with some customers, and they've been like quite helpful to them. So maybe that'd be something interesting for you too. Let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching today, and we hope to see you in one of the next videos.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching this video from NAV SEAL. Check out more right here. NAV SEAL offer assistance and counsel on any existing solution, so if you're in need of assistance, don't hesitate to contact us on navseal.com or LinkedIn. Consider leaving a like and subscribe for more tips, news, and guides to anything Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central.